I'm Carolyn Lonkin, and I'm thrilled to little bits to be guest designing today for Erin Creative. I wanted to share a really fun little project that I created using her new Somewhere kit. This kit has some awesome products that come in that yummy rainbow mesh bag. It includes a super cute wonky rainbow die, a stamp set full of rainbow images that can be stamped and layered for beautiful effects, a sentiment set that includes some amazing all-occasion sentiments, a set of 2 stencils that allow you to ink blend the rainbow in 2 different sizes, as well as some edges to help you create beautiful cloud backgrounds, and a gorgeous red rubber background stamp that has a repetitive wonky rainbow pattern. Today, I'll be playing with the sentiment set and the wonky rainbow die to create my project. I'm starting off with a 4" by 5 1/4" panel of 100-pound white cardstock and a sheet of double-sided adhesive. This adhesive sheet is really sticky, so it'll be perfect for what I'm doing today. I'll pull back the top edge of the liner paper and I'll adhere it to one side of the white panel. This is the panel that I'll use to die cut the wonky rainbow. I die cut the rainbow off camera using an unusual plate sandwich that I was hoping would cut all the way through the cardstock and the adhesive sheet, but I found that the liner paper just wouldn't cut all the way through, and I decided that it's because my die cutting machine is old. But no worries, I'll just use my detail scissors to trim away the layers of the rainbow. I really like the super strength stickiness of these adhesive sheets that I used, but in hindsight, I probably spent a little more time trimming out the pieces of the rainbow with my scissors than I would have liked. I like my cards to be quick and dirty. I guess it's time for a new die cutting machine. Or maybe I'll try a different adhesive sheet next time. Okay, now that I have the pieces of the rainbow trimmed out, I can get started with the fun stuff. I was inspired by a crafty project that was included in a girls' weekend that I went to a while back. I prepped a lot of the pieces for today's project off camera because it would have taken forever to make this video, but I wanted to show you how I created each piece. Each layer of the rainbow needs 2 tassels, so I'll need a total of 8 tassels. I jimmy rigged a tassel creator by trimming a 2" wide piece of 100-pound cardstock, and I used a slot punch to punch a hole towards the top edge. I also used my scissors to snip through the top of the slot, and you'll see why later. I'm using some white embroidery thread to wrap around the tassel creator, and I wrapped it around 6 times. I'll trim off the end, and then I'll use a scrap of thread to slip through the wrapped threads, and I'll tie it in a knot at the top. Next, I'll slip both ends of another scrap of thread from the front to the back, and I'll tie that into a knot as well. I'll use my scissors to cut through the threads at the bottom edge, and I'll slide the top knot of the tassel off through the slit. There are a few details of this project that take a little bit of time, and this is one of them. But honestly, I love doing this kind of stuff. It's like therapy to me. I pull this kind of stuff out at night and do it while I'm binge watching my favorite shows. Now for the really fun part. We get to start creating our colorful rainbow. Again, I'm using some embroidery thread for this. I have a ton of this stuff in my stash, but you can find it at any local craft store or on Amazon. I'm using this delicious raspberry color for the biggest layer of the rainbow, and I'll start by pulling back a little bit of the double-sided adhesive and folding it back. I'll trim a little bit of the string at the top of the tassel, and then I'll lay that onto the sticky side of the rainbow section. Then I'll place the end of the raspberry thread to the sticky side, and I'll lay it at an angle so that I can bury the end as I wrap it from the bottom. Again, this is a little time-consuming, but so satisfying when you see how cute it looks as you progress. I'll work in sections because that double-sided adhesive is super sticky, and because this also allows me time to make sure that the threads stay aligned. And no, I'm not Superwoman. I'm speeding the camera up as I wrap the embroidery thread because I don't want to bore you with that. But I did want to show you how I created each layer from beginning to end. So I hope you'll stick with me as I finish this up. I'll slow it down again when there's a new tip to share. But hopefully you can see that I'm continuing to work in sections, and as I reach the end of the fold of the liner paper, I pull it back and fold it again. I found that this was the best way to keep the embroidery thread from sticking before I was ready for it to stick. Now I'm ready to attach the other tassel. Again, I trimmed off a bit of the tassel end, and I'll adhere it to the sticky side of the rainbow. Now I can finish wrapping the pink embroidery thread so that it covers and secures the end of the tassel. Once I've reached the end of the rainbow, I'll snip the pink embroidery thread and give it a little pressure with my fingers so that it's secured to the sticky side. This, my friends, is what makes me the most happy. I just love to see something come to life in a fun and unexpected way. Okay, as I mentioned before, I prepped the majority of the rainbow off camera to save time and your mental health. I created each section of the rainbow exactly how I just showed you, only I used yellow, lime green, and turquoise embroidery thread for the other sections. I noticed that I didn't do such a great job of securing the end of the rainbow, so I'm using a tiny bit of liquid glue on the back, and I'll hold that end in place with my fingers until it's dried enough to move on to the next step. This glue dries clear, so it won't show in the end. Next, I used my grid pad to align all 4 sections of the rainbow, and I'll use a piece of washi tape to secure the layers together. This will also keep them aligned until I'm ready to adhere them to the card. I decided that the white tassels were a bit too long, so I'm using my T-ruler to hold the threads in place while I use my scissors to give them a little haircut. Doing this will give me a little more room on the main panel for my sentiment. I've placed a 4" by 5¼ white panel into my mini MISTI, and I've placed the "You Are My Sunshine" sentiment towards the bottom. I'll temporarily position the rainbow on the panel to make sure that everything is aligned and spaced the way I want it, and then I'll ink up the sentiment with some black ink and stamp it a couple of times to make sure it's super dark and bold, just the way I like it. I trimmed a 3" by 4¼ piece of rainbow stripe pattern paper that I had in my stash, and I'll adhere that to a 4¼ by 11" white card base with some tape runner adhesive. I'll use my grid pad to make sure that I've adhered it correctly. Next, I'll place the card base into my scoreboard, and I'll score it at 5½ inches, fold it in half, and I'll perfect the crease with my Teflon bone folder. Now I can adhere the image panel to the card base using some foam squares. I love the way the rainbow stripes peek out from the sides of the image panel to tie it all together. Black and white stripes would be super fun too. Okay, I've adhered some thin foam squares to the back of the rainbow sections, and once I peel away the liner paper, I can adhere it to the image panel. Having those washi tape handles really helps me to position the rainbow pieces before I stick them down to the card. And as a finishing touch, I just had to add some of my favorite sparkling clear sequins with some liquid glue. It's a minor detail, but one that I think brings the whole project together. And that, friends, will do it for my video today. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll check the Somewhere kit from Erin Lee Creative out for yourself. I want to thank Erin for inviting me to guest design today. I loved every minute, and I hope you did too.